Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Hashtag Clocked In with me, your host, Jordan Edwards. I'm thrilled to have you tune in as we dive into the dynamic world of productivity, success, and stories of incredible individuals who've mastered the art of getting things done. Whether you're commuting, hitting the gym, or just relaxing at home, this podcast is the go-to source for inspiration and actionable tips to level up your productivity game. I'm on a mission to unravel the secrets of those who seem to effortlessly manage their time and achieve their goals. So if you're ready to clock in and unlock your full potential, you're in the right place. We've got a lineup of amazing guests, industry experts, and thought leaders who will share their insights and strategies to help us crush your to-do list and make the most out of every moment. Get ready to get inspired, motivated, and equipped with the tools you need to supercharge your productivity. This is Hashtag Clocked In with Jordan Edwards. Let's dive in. Hey, what's going on? We got a special guest here today. We have Jen Richey. She's the mother of four, a professional athlete, an extreme athlete, and a skydiver. Jennifer provides an understanding of augmented reality and mobile technology. She started a company called Gravity Jack in 2009 and has the claims to the first augmented reality patents. Jen, how are you doing right now?
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being on. I'm excited to have you on because what's going on with augmented reality is it's really interesting. Do you think it's going to take over the world? Like, are people never going to leave their homes again? Or do you think they're, what do you think about this?
I mean, life in general should be balanced. There should be balance. Will there be people that never leave their home? Probably. I mean, I'd be lying, right? If I didn't say that. We have people who work with us here at GJ. They work all day on the computer, they code, and then when, they're off work, they go and they game and they're in their computer and that's what they do. That's what they like to do. And that's their choice. So do I think that they should be locked in a technological digital AR VR world? Probably not. Do I think some will? Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. There's people already there today. Like people are
Yeah,
concerned about this, but there's already a lot of people there currently. So
totally. They get the
Jen,
groceries online, food, everything.
I
Uh,
mean, I think in my opinion, I feel like COVID expedited that where people are like, I don't want to go outside, I don't want to see people, I don't want to do that. And there's a lot of people who went to that,
100%.
hey, I'm just gonna live my life and be my organism. And but I think together we're stronger for sure. So
Hmm.
Jen, for you, where did your journey start? Because you have a pretty interesting one. And where
It's a
where did
little
that all
all over
begin for you?
with my journey with tech
No, just your life. Where did it all
in general.
begin? And then how'd you get into tech?
Okay, so I'm from Southern California originally, and actually you mentioned I skydive. So I was skydiving down in California and met my husband there. He lived in Washington State and was down visiting a friend. And, we met, we jumped, I moved. And then I moved up to Washington State. And I was actually on my way to becoming an attorney. My dad's an attorney, my brother's an attorney, grandpa is kind of from a line of attorneys. And when I moved to Washington, I was in college when kind of shifted into the tech world and helped found Meta Software in 2002, which is more of a PC dev company. And I did a lot of the
Yeah.
finances, behind the scenes stuff. And then 2007 went on
Wait,
to a different gaming. Okay.
yeah, real quick. So how old were you when you're skydiving and you meet your soon to be husband or like down the line husband?
19. So as soon as I started jumping the year before. As soon as I turned 18, knew I wanted to be a jumper. I went and jumped, and then saved up money to come back the next year to get my license. So
Real. And what do you enjoy about skydiving? What is so incredible about it? Because I like there's the iFly areas, which are really cool. Like there's elements
the
of learning
tunnels,
about it and flying.
yeah.
Yes, exactly. I've never done real skydiving though. Like
Yeah,
what?
it's
Like
so fun. So when I first started or knew I wanted to, I was like 11 years old, and my grandpa, I went out to the field in Edwards Air Force Base. My grandpa came down on a big round, hit the ground like you would have thought, and I went running to him. I just found a picture about a year ago, and I'm running out there. And it was from that day on, I always knew it. So I tried to be a jumper at 15. Like if my parents would sign a waiver, could I? They wouldn't. So I'd wait till I was 18. There's just a freedom in it.
yeah,
There's just joy and
yeah,
a little bit of unpredictability. I'm not like the, oh, it's ground rush, I'm gonna die. That's not never been me. It's more just like a fun, you have a short amount of time to do whatever you want to do, to play whatever you want to play, because you've got about a minute where you have to pull that chute and land. And it's just the thrill of it. But I ride sport bikes and speed and a little bit of an adrenaline junkie, I guess.
Well, it's incredible. It's cool because most of the time, what I find is there's a lot of people that are so stuck in their roles. They're so stuck in their life. And
Yeah.
most people don't have great hobbies like that. So, what do you think would be a good value to them? Not saying everyone's got to go skydive tomorrow, but what do you think it is? Like, what was the way for you to find your hobby? Because I think it's super beneficial for people to have different areas of life because it
Mhm.
allows it to be a lot more fulfilling.
So I used to say try everything once, and I changed that to try everything twice. Not everything, most things. So you try it the first time and it's like information overload. And then the
Yeah.
second time is like, whoa, what's really going on? What's happening? Like a skydive or a bungee jump. Or I mean, statistically, you're fine. You're more likely to get in a car wreck driving to work tomorrow than you are having something happen in a skydive. So give it a go. Why not? Why not try new things? And if that's a little too much, take it down a notch. Go to the sand dunes, ride a dune buggy, get out. That's why I love the Pacific Northwest. There's 4 seasons up here, very defined textbook seasons, and you
Yeah.
never know what you're going to get. Like right now, it's a sunny day. Yesterday it was pouring rain and like 40 degrees. So this is a day it's like, I better go for a run or I'm going to
Yeah.
go get my bike out and go for, go cycling or something. So it's very much like seize the moment when you can. And if
I
you're in a
love it.
rut, got to turn the trajectory, get out of it.
Yeah, no, that's 100% an incredible takeaway because for anyone in the audience, like we can be bogged down by life so much, but going outside and like doing something different can change everything for us. It can change,
Everything.
yeah.
Everything. Yeah.
So
And there's something that says physiologically too. What does it do? I mean, shoot, even if it's just a new workout, go to the gym, lift weights you've never lifted before. I don't know. I'm all about like variety, trying new things and not being full of fear.
yeah, I love that. And it also it stacks your experiences. So when you
Totally.
do that, people don't realize, but it's this thing called like a memory dividend where you
Yeah.
can connect with someone on a level because they're like, hey, I went skydiving. Well, I went kind of skydiving too. And we can connect on that moment. And now you're happy about that moment that you did that experience. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, that's a cool thing. That's
Yeah.
another way to connect instead of just tell me about your stuff. Tell me
And they're
what do
kind
you
of like
look like?
memory markers too. So even
Yes.
taking our kids on a trip, like we went and renewed our vows, geez Louise, last year in Mexico. So you can go to Mexico, have a fun trip, Hawaii, wherever, go on the beach every day and hang out. But your days sort of blur together a little bit. Like you'll
Yeah.
remember them. But I'm like okay, I want to have like 2 to 3 excursions that you'll remember on that. Like we did ATVs and the monkey sanctuary. So we're
Yes.
holding monkeys, jumping on our head. We get on ATVs. It starts downpouring rain, and we're mud womping on these 4-wheelers to, to the caves. And it's like you'll remember that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So a little more than just sitting on a beach playing in the waves.
I love that. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, because it's so good. It's such a nice way to have an experience is like those 1 to 3 different things where you're like, yo, that was really unique. I can't do that on my regular day to day. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So where did you get into tech? Where did you find that love for tech and experience that? Because I know 2000, like still pretty early. Like,
Super early, and I'm dating myself. So 2002, we started a PC company, and
yeah.
so we had devs all over the world. We
Wow.
framed an email that came from one, and he said, "Sorry on delay, small revolution in country," and we're like, "That goes in a frame." He was okay. He was okay. But anyway, so we had the developers offshore, but the project managers onshore. In 2007, that company got acquired by a gaming company. And
So,
so I wasn't involved in the
but
devs. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, before you jump into that, so that's 2002. That is way before remote work, VAs. Like
Totally.
I feel like you are 10, 20 years ahead of everyone.
Yeah, we were like Western Unioning payments. Like that's how you paid your coders and stuff. No joke. I was like, this is
How did you even find these people? Because I mean, I'm telling you, like you are literally 20 years ahead of everyone. Because
yeah,
as this starts coming, I feel like 2022 is like, oh, you don't have someone in the Philippines working with you. You don't have a team somewhere outsourced. You don't have
yeah,
people working with you because it's just the company's just gotten much smaller and it's much more global. And there's PayPal and there's easy ways to pay. And
yeah. Which is ironic because Gravity Jacket, we were founded in 2009 and we do not outsource overseas. We never
oh,
have.
really?
It was kind of like we made it, and it's based on a lot of the experience there because sometimes we'd have a project and we'd have 2 or 3 teams running it because
Yeah.
you don't know them, you don't know their quality, and it's like, ooh, I need a backup for my client in case these guys over here have a revolution. So it had its own bit of headaches, but there was wow, I can't believe I'm even remembering this, a website called Rent-A-Coder,
Okay.
rentacoder.com. And so that's where we would go. We would post, I mean, a lot of different methods and techniques and ways and things to use. But that's one of the things that we would use to find people. And I did more of the finances behind the scenes
Yeah.
in that part of the company, which I was good at. But just because you're good at something, which this is like, here's a little nugget for someone listening. Just because you're really good at something doesn't mean it's fulfilling.
Yes.
And just because you're really good at, if you're really good at something and you're stuck there and it's not fulfilling, you don't have to stay there. That would
Yeah.
be my thing. Like, and it was a realization where I was like, I didn't really like this though. And so then when we shifted into the gaming company and then with Gravity Jack, um, the idea of, just to answer your question too, you watch an idea of what somebody wants done or what we want to create for a client, and you get to watch it just evolve.
Yeah.
It's like building a house, really. When you go and you see it's like dirt and bushes and nasty, and then they break ground, and then they
Yeah.
lay the foundation, and then they throw up, the framing. Like you get to watch this evolution and then the end result. So it's always fun for me. And Gravity Jack, I feel like more of a translator because I don't code. I don't write the code. I don't know how to write the code, but I can tell you what's possible, what's not possible, best practices, what you should and shouldn't do, things, different UI or UX. So that's user interface and user experience. I can show you good UX, good user experience, and bad. When you're on an app and you're frustrated because you can't find what you're wanting, that's bad UX. They didn't think that through.
Well, and
So
that's the most impressive thing is because most of the time we just sit there as customers, and this is what I found a lot. Like even with me, I was doing it today with my fiance. I was talking about I had social media clips, and I was like, "Hey, does this thumbnail make you want to click the video?" And she's like, "I don't even know what you're talking about. I just scroll." And I'm like, "No, no, no. There's something that provokes you to click a video." Like
yeah,
I was like, she's like, "No, no, no. I just scroll." I'm like, "No, no, no. Like
you
there's
never
some point
tap.
of
At
I'm like,
some point, you tap.
I'm like, I'm like, there's some point, but it's just that awareness and that heightened awareness that when you're so deep in the threads of it, and that's just like what you're saying. Like, I guarantee you, there's times when I log into a banking app, like with millions of people, there's so many users, and you're like, why can't I do this simple task? Like, why is this giving me a hard time? And it's just, you never think that it's like, oh, the tab can change this, but now there's just so much back end components to it that most
Yeah.
people never see.
No, hey, I'm that person. I'm an exception to some of the rules I've learned. Like I'm a chronic unsubscriber. Like my inbox, if I don't want that, nope, I unsubscribe. I take the time, click, opt out, get out of my inbox. Where most people just delete, delete, delete. So then they have to delete 50 emails every morning. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
But even like going to that banking app, I'm like, that was really frustrating. So I'll go to their support and I'm like, hi, and I'll do it really kind and sweet.
Yeah.
Just ran into this little hiccup. It's a little bit of kind of a user experience flow. Would love to see something more along the lines of this. So yeah.
So with Gravity Jack, how did you guys start implementing these ideas and look into augmented reality? Because like you said before, it was way before the time. And I get that you're doing projects with Fortune 500 companies, but ah, like this is a fascinating concept. Like in our
Yeah.
pre-call, I was like, who is Jen? Like what is Jen and her husband doing? They were so ahead of their time.
Yeah. Well, kind of like you were saying, even doing, offshore stuff back in Temeta days in 2005 and 7 and whatever. So when the smartphone came out, App Store came out in like 2008.
Okay.
And so Luke and I are talking, and he starts talking to me about smartphones, and he's like, these things are not the end game. These things are going away. We don't want to look at screens. We don't need all these big, and I mean, computers were bigger back then.
Yeah.
He's like, we don't need all these screens. He's like, eventually we're just going to look up. We're going to throw something on our face, look up, and we'll just be typing on our kitchen counter and you'll see a screen. And I'm like, what? Unpack that for me. Unpack that, and he starts unpacking it. And over the years prior, he would come up with tech ideas, and he'd tell me about them. And I just kind of wrote them off. And then he would open up some tech magazine and he'd be like, remember that thing I was telling you about? Look right there. I said that a year ago or 2 years ago. And I'm like, whoa. So there was a consistent pattern of him just having that gift of seeing where tech's going to go. Like I can see the trajectory of where it's going to go. His timing is always off. 100% of the time, because for him, it's like, it makes sense. So it should be done in like 2 years. But there's so many factors between hardware and users getting on board and platforms, money, all kinds of stuff. Anyway, so he's talking about AR, and I was like, again, I have the legal background, I have the passion and understanding from a legal perspective. And I'm like, okay, we need to look into this. Like, there's nothing, we need to look into patenting this thing. If this is the trajectory of where these things are going.
What is augmented reality, just before we go any further?
Yeah. So simplest definition for me, augmented reality is putting digital content into your real world through a viewing device.
Okay.
So a viewing device can be a headset. It can be a mobile phone. I mean, it could be this computer, right? So if we're sitting here having this video call and antlers pop up on my head, the antlers aren't really here. They're digital assets being put into the real world because this is my scene right here and now. That's augmented reality. So if I take my phone and I want to see what does a couch look like in my living room, and I tap the screen on my couch and place it, I can spin it around, change the textures, and I want to buy that. That's augmented reality.
Yeah. So the reason I bring that up is for the audience. We're seeing this starting like probably the past year. Like I've started to notice that there's the Oculus by Meta. So it's like a headset that you can wear and it kind of interchanges. There's in the Amazon app, you can see clothes on, you can see the rug in your floor. And like, it's interesting because you sit there and you go, wow, tech's here, tech's really here. But this has been going on for years.
Yeah. So in 2010, so we got the patent, started getting the patent in 2009, 2010. And we were at an angel investor meeting, and there's, I don't know, 150 people. And when you're doing speaking events, you want to pulse your audience, especially with tech, because that's why when I say I'm the interpreter, I don't know if they know nothing about it or if they're super savvy. You're kind of going in blind. And so I go in and I was like, okay, how many people here have heard of augmented reality? Not one hand. And I'm like,
and these are the people on the cutting edge.
Well, I wouldn't say that. No, they were angel investors. I don't say that in a negative connotation. They just invest in early things. It could be real estate. It could be all over the map.
Okay.
But they're investors. So you'd think they'd be in a little bit. I thought I see a couple hands, none. And so I was like, all right. And this is 2009, 2010. How many people have a smartphone? I'm thinking at least 90% of the hands. No, it was like
really
25% of the hands went up. And I was like, oh gosh, break it down. And it was good though. So have this talk, and one of the head angels comes up after and he's like, this was so exciting, so fun. For the future, because they're looking at, am I going to invest in the now? Is this thing in this company? Because there's multiple companies that came up and spoke, and they said, this just isn't something that's going to hit in our lifetime. So we're going to have to pass, and I'm like, really? A few years later, saw him at some other event. He did come up because a little bit more of AR was out there, and he's like, okay, I was wrong. It's going to happen in our lifetime, kind of thing. And I was like, thank you for acknowledging that.
Well, that's one of the coolest things. And that's the hardest thing about that I see a lot of is each time inside of new transformations, new ideas, whether it's bringing in credit cards to restaurants, whether it's trying to bring in NFTs, whether it's entering the crypto. Everyone is always bandwagoning and hopping on the next big wave, quote unquote. You guys have
Yeah.
been here for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
Like
So,
it's a
cool.
very different perspective.
It is. We were in Singapore a few weeks back, and it was super. This was like, I don't know. For me, I was just like, oh, this is awesome. Because so we're in Singapore. Long story short, Luke had given a business card to somebody for him to email him something. And so he gives it to his assistant, who actually happens to be his son. And I mean, he looks like he's like, I don't know, mid-20s, early 30s, something like that. And the next morning at the breakfast at this event, and it's not a tech event, by the way, at all.
Yeah.
So this is even cooler. He comes up and he's like, "You guys are Gravity Jack?" And we're like, "Yeah," thinking he's going to talk about the email or whatever. And he goes, "I've been following you guys for 13 years."
Oh,
And we're
wow.
like, "What?" And we get this every once in a while, like a different, usually they're tech conferences though. Like, "Oh,
Yeah.
nice to meet you. Here's my business card." And they're like, "Oh, Gravity Jack, I've been following you." And he said, "I've been following you guys for 13 years." And we're like, "No, really?" And he's like, "Yeah. When I first started hearing about augmented reality, I went on the USPTO, the US Patent and Trademark Office website, and started running searches, and your guys' name was up because we're so early. And then other patents have to reference us as prior art because we were there before them. And it's all these things." He's like, "Yeah, I've been following you." And I was like, "Oh, he's like, what's going on in the company?" And we had mentioned, "Oh, well, we're doing this. We just had our first public offering, and as a crowdfunding." He goes, "Oh, Reg CF." And we're like, "Yeah," which is a regulation crowdfunding. And I go, "Yeah, we're on this platform called Start." And he finishes startengine.com. I'm like, "Who are you?" So he is an SEC or a securities attorney.
Oh,
So that's
wow.
kind of his passion, his wheelhouse. So he follows things and people and companies he's interested in, or excuse me, more things or technologies he's interested in. He'll follow the players in the patent space. But I was like, that was cool to meet somebody across the world who's been following, who knows who we are, and B had been kind of following where we were going. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
I mean, and that's the amazing thing that I want everyone to take away, that not, hey, you have to do augmented reality, but if you do something in your own lane, it carries so much further and it allows you to be an authentic version of yourself. And people are striving to get near authentic because there's a lot of inauthentic in the world right now.
100%. I agree with that. I love that. I always say, sometimes I'm like, I'm transparent to a fault. Like I'll just say something. I'm like, "Oh, that just came out. Let me sugarcoat it a little bit."
So for you, what was it like working with your husband? Because I at Edwards Consulting, there's 5 pillars. It's mental health, physical health, community service, philanthropy, spirituality, and relationships. And most of the time, people are not working with their significant other, especially in a startup land, in a new venture. So how did you guys think about that? Because that is a challenge that a lot of people face.
Yeah, many, many times over the years, we've gotten shocked faces like, "No, you do not work together." And we're like, "Yeah, in the same company." And we're like, "In
The same office. I love it.
the same office." Well, it's a couple things. I mean, you learn to navigate. Communication, obviously, is key. What's interesting is we not just have the companies have evolved. Obviously, your marriage and your relationship evolved, and also our roles have evolved. So
Yeah.
there's in the beginning, there's you've got your strengths and weaknesses, and it's important to lean on the other person where you're weak and appreciate where they're strong, right? Because you can
Yeah.
resent where they're strong too.
Yeah.
And it's key that that's not what you do. Like, this is your helpmeet, your partner in life. That's your helpmeet. They're there
Yeah.
to help lift you up, to encourage you, to be there when you need them, when they're strong in your relationship, but also in business, right? So when you have good working relationships outside of marriage, they're there helping each other and saying, "Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this?" Leading where they're supposed to lead and follow where they're supposed to follow, frankly. Even as a CEO of a corporation, you follow some of your under management, right? That's the area that they're running. So you kind of, they may not be your boss, but in that realm, they know more than you. And appreciating that in a positive way. So I think with Luke and I, it's been a lot of that, where knowing, hey, this is my area that I am leading, and not just respecting that, but encouraging that, and vice versa with the other part.
Well, I think that's just so healthy in every relationship because you have to
Yeah.
realize you can't have two like you're going to have two A players, but in two different areas. Like
Yeah.
one person might excel at cooking, one person might excel at eating. That's probably a good relationship. It's simple. It's simple, but it's true. Like you don't
Yeah.
want, no one likes when they're the cook and then the other person comes in and they're like, let me show you how wrong you're doing this. That doesn't
Yeah,
make anyone feel good.
but to your point, if I cook a really good meal, I don't want someone to just eat it.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, I would really like some feedback. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this is so like I say this like you would like so good. Da, 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 da. Now at the same time, I'll say, let me know if I is this a make againer? Like, oh, this is good, but let's not put it on the docket.
So that actually is so important because I didn't even think about that. But like I usually cover breakfast. So I'm making breakfast and I'll do like little iterations where it's like, hey, we might have toasted it a little longer. We might have done that. And I go, give me real feedback. And when someone says
Yeah.
it's good, I go, that's not real feedback. I'm like, Madison, we need better. We need 5 to 7 responses about how you're feeling, flavor, like, because I go, dude, don't give me good. Good is equivalent to fine, and fine is terrible.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I told him early on, and that's why I said transparent to a fault. Like even like fitness stuff, it'll be like, well, to each other. It'll be like, I want like a little bit bigger shoulders, and he'll go make it happen. And he's like, you make your backside a little bigger. I'm like, I got you. Like you work it and you modify it, but you have to have a good heart about it. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? So with the food, if it's like, it's a little over toasted, cool. Next time I won't toast it as much because I want it to be the best it can be. And it's not
well,
like you over toasted it. You know what I'm saying?
well, it's the communication of
Yeah.
not that I'm better than you or anyone thinks anyone's better, but it's more of a happy communication of like, hey, we're looking at getting better. Here's how we're
Yeah.
going to get better.
Yeah.
And I think that's really
I always say
helpful.
that there's always room for improvement.
Yes.
And I don't mean that in a judgy way. It's just kind of true, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what's it been like working with these Fortune 500 companies? What have you guys been doing at Gravity Jack? What is something where people might understand it, where they've seen it? How
Yeah.
does that work?
So it's different. One of the things I say to my team and my clients, frankly, is there's never a dull moment at Gravity Jack because you're always working with different clients. You're working with different technological platforms, different devices, different timelines, different executions. Really, every project is so unique and so different. And navigating working with clients, like T-Mobile, we've done quite a few projects with them. Amazing people, love them. They have great concepts. There's a lot of cooks in the T-Mobile kitchen, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It just is. They have to go
A
through their
lot of
things and
approvals.
a lot of approvals, and they have to meet with this. Okay, we got approval from this, and they go to the next team. And so you do learn. The first project you do with a company or group, you really learn how to dance, which
Yeah.
helps. Our projects are always amazing to work on, but you do notice a noticeable change in like the second. So Oscar Mayer was a project we worked on. I flew out to Chicago. It doesn't matter, wherever it was, somewhere about in the Midwest. This was a while ago. And they did almost Shark Tank style. They brought in these companies. They were like, here's our problems. Because this is for the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. We can't take people on rides in the Wienermobile because of legal reasons. So people can't see inside of it. People can't drive it. Literally, of course. Obviously, they can't drive it. People want to see it at their events. It's all these different problems. And so companies came with different reasons. We came out our different solutions. Let's do an app. Let's do a
Yeah.
mobile app. They can do all these things. We put the people into VR so they can look around on their mobile phone and see what it looks like to be in the vehicle, blah, blah, blah. So we win the whole Shark Tank thing. The next year, so the first year we figured out how to work together. The next year they were like, okay, we got 100 and whatever thousand in our budget. What do you guys think we should do this year? Which was like, nice. Like you built that trust, you built that communication, that relationship. And they're like, all right, you lead this charge. I mean, they were heavily involved in the collaboration, but it was cool to come at it from that perspective.
Because it's more of a people, and this happens with everything. People like working with people that are easy, that make things
That's true.
suitable. So then the
Yeah.
next year, it's like, hey, we don't have to do, We don't have to double vet you. We don't have to double do anything. Like, you did what you said and more. Let's do it again.
Let's do
But
it.
people have to realize this with everything you. Why have you gone to the same dentist for 20 years? Why have you gone to the same doc? Like, it's because you're just comfortable, and it's just like,
Yeah.
hey, this is who I know. I don't want to meet a new person. I
Yeah.
don't want to deal with this again.
One of the corporations, I can't remember which one, but they laughed. There's definitely a different dynamic because we just can move fast. We can turn feedback around fast. We can turn our assets, all kinds of stuff. And they're like, you guys, we're like a cruise ship when we have to turn. And like, you
Yes.
guys are like a speedboat just cruising by, and we're like, well, just whatever you can send our way so that we can cruise fast with. Like some things they would normally do internally, they're like, it'll take us longer to do this, even simple
Yeah.
things. Here, you guys handle it. But I over the years met some really great people in the Fortune 500s down to smaller companies, and it's just really just an enjoyable. It's one of my favorite things about my job, getting to interface with the clients, finding out what their problems are, and being a genuine part of their solution from a technical perspective.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. So where do you think augmented reality is going in the next like 5, 10 years?
Yeah. Well, kind of back what you were saying before, where it took what people a while. Like you feel like it just this last year, AR has been coming. With software in general, you're handicapped by hardware
Okay.
because there's things that you can do. Like your imagination can go wild on what we can do on a
Okay.
computer. Well, I need a supercomputer to be able to render those things to do it.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know,
I was a
that
little
you're
confused for a second. Yeah.
yeah, you're limited by the compute power of the devices. In our world of augmented reality, you're limited by some of the sensors or the cameras, how fast it can display things. In early days of augmented reality, now you place your couch down and it snaps and it's there. Early days of AR, the asset would like jiggle often, like you'd have to hold your phone so steady
Yeah.
or else the thing would jiggle. So a lot of that kind of stuff, because now it uses sensors and
Yeah.
and things to detect the plane. So as things start to evolve, to answer your question, I think wearables is going to be, well, two-pronged. One, people are starting to really understand not just the funky fun part of AR, but actually the fundamental ways it can change how we do things in life.
Okay.
Like start thinking, learning, training, repairs. My ice maker's broke in my kitchen refrigerator. I don't want to call a repairman and pay $155 for him to come out and fix my ice maker. If I could hold up my phone and it says, it detects my refrigerator, tells me to open the freezer, to pull out this particular filter thing, to walk around to the back and adjust a hose. Like it's literally step by step overlaid right on top, to where all of us, I don't want to say we're average, but in regards to
Yeah.
knowing how to repair an ice maker, I'm an average person.
For
But
sure.
that it augmented reality allows us to then become subject matter experts.
And that's really interesting because I thought about that solution right now, and I would usually go, and it wasn't even until years ago, but YouTube. Most people go
YouTube.
to YouTube, and then you got
Yeah.
to find the guy with the exact model of the exact thing, and it's like
Yeah.
it's not always the same. So if you could have
Mm-mm.
like a plumber on demand or like a thing helping you that
Totally.
says, "Hey, like this is your fridge, like this is how
Yeah.
you do it." That's
Or
really
like
cool.
assembling something, like whatever, you're
Yeah,
having a baby and you need to assemble a crib. Yeah, you got a PDF with
yeah,
pictures, but sometimes you're like, what if I could just hold this up and it's like, grab that there, put that there, like
yeah,
think Minority Report. Like it's just going to have information hovering in front of you. But back to your question of where's it going to be in 5 to 10 years? People now are most people, like I would say everyone knows what AR is though, because I still get probably 2 to 3 calls a month that I have to really explain the difference, which is awesome. That's okay. I love it.
yeah.
I tell my team, don't get jaded. Just because
Yeah.
you know tech, don't get pretend like
I don't think
everybody
you.
does.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's fun that you're getting to teach them this new thing. So people are starting to not just understand it, see it out in the wild, understand that it's needed. The LiDAR that's come out on these things, the sensor depth dimension sensors that have come out in the last couple of years, leaps and bounds for augmented reality. And now Apple Vision Pro coming out with a headset. Um, so I think that it's going to be, we'll watch the headset market really evolve,
Yeah.
specifically around AR. Um, and I think Apple's doing a really good job of their trajectory and their intention. So the Apple Vision Pro is really more focused on your in-home experience. You'll
Okay.
notice that. So they haven't fully announced it. This is Jen. This is based on
The
things
alpha.
and reasons that they're going to enhance your in-home experience because you're not going to wear a set of goggles because they kind of look like goggles. Some AR headsets look cool like your glasses. Like
Okay.
once we get to glasses like you are wearing,
Yeah.
that I'm going to wear those around town. I'm going to go
Yeah.
to the mall. I'm going to go to a restaurant. Like they're cool looking, comfortable, smaller glasses. Like the Apple Vision Pro look like a pair of ski goggles. So you're not going to go downtown, walk around in ski goggles. But Apple Vision Pro is going to augment your space. I'm going to be able to put them on here. I'm working at my office. I can have monitors, computer monitors over here. This is my personal stuff on my calendar, whatever I'm working on. Keyboards here. I can have art on my walls, recipes and stuff for cooking, things like that. So it's going to change the way that we interact in our homes
Yeah.
digitally with AR. And then as the headsets evolve, we'll take that outside, into the wild out there. But
Interesting.
think like digital twin. That's where
Yeah.
it's going to be going. The world will be, you walk around a city, you're going to have a digital twin overlaid on top. So I look at a building and I can get digital content on it if I want.
Yeah.
I can adjust the dial. How much
Well,
content do I want? Do I not really want much?
well, I mean, that would be so cool because I feel like every time I go to a rooftop, you're seeing the skyline and you're like, what building's that? What building's that? And you need someone who's an exact expert, has walked
Yeah.
the city a million times, and then they could tell you, that's that building, that's that one. But if you could look, that would be
Totally. And then you could get
really cool.
history on it too. What
Yeah.
other companies have been in that building? That's that turning up the dial. Like it starts out, what building is that? And then it can give you information. It can tell you what companies are in that building now.
That's
When was it
fascinating.
built? Yeah. I mean, it's going to get there. It's not an if. This is truly a conversation of when we think it might get there.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're listening to this and getting excited, you're probably like, how can I get involved? How do you take advantage of that? So, what are the revenue streams of Gravity Jack slash how can people get kind of involved in this? Because there's not too many AR idea. Like, I guess you could buy Apple stock. I guess you can buy Facebook stock. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. So we just launched our first public offering. Gosh, I want to say 6 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. Don't quote me on time. Life's been blurred together recently, but just recently launched a public stock offering. So it is an SEC regulated public stock offering. It's kind of like a tier below an IPO on the stock exchange
Okay.
because it's a crowdfunding. So it's called a Reg CF or Regulation CF crowdfunding. And that is on startengine.com. So you can go to Start Engine, search for Gravity Jack, and we will pop up there and you can literally become a shareholder in Gravity Jack. Now, when you go there, Gravity Jack has three revenue stream kind of areas of the company. We have our traditional AR, VR agency we've been doing for 14 years. We do have our patent licensing. So we have a team of attorneys running that vein. I mean, there's um, Blipbar's licensing our tech. Eighth Wall, which is a web AR company owned by Niantic. L'Oreal Makeup Company is licensing, and tons of makeup companies have letters, and we're in talks with them right now. So there's that revenue. And then we are actually, the use of funds for this raise is for an augmented reality mobile game that we will be developing called War Tribe. And so that's that going as after the game is developed, post raising the funds, obviously we create this game. And that's where the funds are. But you go there, you can become a shareholder of Gravity Jack. Definitely check out the video that's on there. It'll give a little bit more of insight, not just in our history, but also with kind of the future of where the company. And it's not just shares in like the game. It is shares in all of Gravity Jack.
Wow. And
Yeah.
so when we were doing the pre-call, the thing I found most interesting is the vast amount of volume that you have through the patent company because
Yeah.
like I don't think people understand. So basically anyone who's using AR Gravity Jack, they have to license through Gravity Jack or it's not or there's going to be some isn't that the case, right? Or something like that?
We'll probably have to be going to litigation soon. I really wouldn't rather not just
Yeah.
own it, like, hey, you were there first, you patented it first. Here's the money for the licensing and move on. But there are companies attempting to, they don't want to pay,
Take
especially the
advantage of
big
it. But
dogs.
either way, that's a
Yeah.
great profitability
Yes. Yeah.
way of yeah, it's a great income stream because it's like, hey, we
Yeah.
already have the tech.
Yeah.
will
And
help
it's
you
only
implement
going
that.
to be growing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then tell us more about this game. What is this game exactly?
Oh, so much to it. So it's a mobile augmented reality game, iOS and Android. It will have Apple Vision Pro elements
Okay.
inside of it, but you like just for enhanced gameplay though. You don't have to have the game or the Apple Vision Pro to play the game. Now, the difference between our game versus something like Pokemon Go, which is great. I mean, they did a good job. You don't have to have the AR element to play Pokemon Go. It's like, if you want to turn it on, you can, and that's fine. That's their strategy. There are pieces in this game you have to interact with the AR in order to have the gameplay. So the lore of it is there are two artificial intelligence. You have the evil AI, Azazel, and the good AI called Yaman. And Azazel is trying to destroy all of humanity. He doesn't like us, wants to take us all out, and he's in the year 2133 and he's trying to destroy us now. I mean, so there's this like apocalyptic 2133 type world where there's not many of us left, but the Yaman is saying, fight now, fight in the year
Yeah.
2023, fight in the year 2024, join together all of
Yeah.
humanity to fight him. So there's a lot of cross-border encouragement, especially with the
Yeah.
timing of it too, and all the fighting that's happening globally. It's like the governments are fighting, but not
Yeah.
all the people are bad.
Yeah.
Like there's good people in every single country on this planet. And what does it look like for us to be on the same team? Let's fight together. This
Yeah.
thing is trying to kill us in the future. We got to fight him. And so there's all kinds of quests that will be happening in game that will encourage people to be physically together. Some of the
Yeah.
quests, like you join together physically to accomplish something, or they could just be, different types of technological quests. And when you have teammates in other countries, you
Yeah.
actually get enhanced gameplay.
Oh,
So if
wow.
my team members in South America, whatever, Hong Kong, Canada, because my team members are in those countries, they can send me weapons or clues or hints or
Oh,
things
cool.
like that. Yeah, so you don't want to it's not about just having your little niche here. You want your teammates to be global. And there's going to be like augmented reality portals coming out of the sky. You hold up your device to your arm and you'll get a message like almost like a hologram Princess Leia that's telling
Yeah.
you your quest. So you have to engage with those AR pieces. You can't know
Yeah.
your quest unless you take your message from the
Yeah.
holographic wrist cuff. Um,
That's
so
wild.
it's gonna be so fun, so awesome. And the users will be able to like they could put in for a quest request, like,
Yeah.
oh, this quest, and then it can get voted on.
Yeah.
And then there's an element in more poverty-ridden countries. So this is also a way for uplifting people, uplifting
Yeah.
humanity, uplifting people out of poverty. So if you're in Africa in a small village, side note, debatably between 85 and 94, depends on what study you read. Let's go with the low number, 85% penetration rate of the world. So 85% of the world has access to a smartphone.
Wow.
Tiny little villages in the middle of nowhere, they've got mobile devices with connectivity. Now, it might be a family of 10 and they only have one device, but
Yeah.
they have a device. And we've talked to multiple people who go into these types of villages and they're like, oh, that's real. They'll be in
Yeah.
there gaming, like in a lean-to kind of house sort of thing. And so in those types of countries, some of the quests will be translation quests. So it'll
Really.
pop up a quest where they can translate some of the text and earn in-game currency that they can extract out in their real-world currency, hence uplifting them and a new way for them to earn revenue in those
That's
countries.
incredible.
Yeah,
That's
it's pretty
awesome.
substantial. So Gravity Jack will get an NLP, so natural language processing translation engine, in exchange, for giving them that revenue that they can extract out. They're basically getting paid. It's like a new career in these poverty-ridden countries, which I do think
Wow.
you'll see more of. We may be like the first to start doing this, but I think that there's going to be more coming.
I heard a little bit about this where people were gaming and making money in different areas. It's interesting. It's very exciting and new. And how do you think you found yourself on the cutting edge? I understand that your husband is really part of that, but if people are looking to learn more, like what do you think is the best way for them to go about this? Learning more about AR and Gravity Jack in general.
Diving in online, start doing your research. I mean, it's even like and not being afraid. This goes back to the skydiving or trying new things, or just because you're good at something, but if you're not being fulfilled, don't be afraid to step out and dive in and learn and find that other thing that might be more fulfilling in that.
Yeah.
I didn't see myself as a tech person back when I was going, on my way to law school. That wasn't,
Yeah.
but just not shutting doors. When a door opens, start diving in. I will say though, learn about artificial intelligence, learn about augmented reality, virtual reality. Some people, especially in the AI realm, are like, it's evil, it's bad. And I'm like, it's a tool.
Yeah.
It's a tool. It's not inherently good or evil, but educate yourself on what it is so that you don't have concern or worry or fear, that you
Yeah.
know and understand something.
And also to that point, I think a lot of it can alleviate a lot of things going on in your day to day that you might not enjoy. So, like, for
Mm,
example, for myself, I run this podcast. My descriptions were, in my opinion, were not great. Descriptions were
mhm.
not great for podcasts.
Yeah,
Buzzsprout, the hosting platform I have, came out with an AI tool for like $20 a month, and they
yeah,
make the descriptions super detailed. I go,
yeah.
thank you. And they offer me options. They give different options too. I
Thank
go, this is
you.
great. This is great.
Yeah,
Thank you. So my
yeah,
whole point of that being is that if you can find ways to integrate this, it can
yeah.
alleviate a lot of stress in your day to day and maybe
Totally.
make you a lot more efficient and let you focus on things you actually enjoy. I just gave you an
Yeah.
out thing with the podcasting, but there's these everywhere and people are finding them in all different areas. So don't be
Hmm.
afraid to look. Yeah.
Yeah. And ask. Spoke at a California business women in business conference a few years pre-COVID. Big conference, way bigger than I thought it was going to be. And I was in one of the rooms, and it was about augmented reality, the type of tech, what it is, VR, how it can be used. And I challenged them at the end of this talk. I said a lot of them were like in banking and real estate, and I can't remember the main niches, but I said every single one of you in your role, in your company, in your organization, in your group, there is an augmented reality strategy or integration that could enhance what you're doing, that could benefit your clients in some way, that will, level something up. Maybe it's an event, it's whatever, all these things. And I just challenged them. I said, every single one of you, here's my email. I put my email. Here's my cell number. Call me, text me. And there was hundreds of people in there. I was like, I can tell you ways that AR can be used in your industry, in your vertical, and in your role. And I would love to be able to do that with you. And I got quite a few emails, and there wasn't one that I couldn't find that wouldn't augmented reality wouldn't offer an enhancement in some capacity.
100%. So,
Yeah.
Jen, you've been amazing. Where can people hear more about you? Go to the Start Engine. What are the links? What are the things? I'm going to put it all in the show notes, but just share where people can look.
Yeah. So gravityjack.com, and that's just gravity, JACK.com. Start Engine is the platform if you're wanting to watch those videos, learn about the offering, and that's startengine.com/offering/gravityjack. And it'll take you right to us. They do have a search bar though. So if you search at startengine.com, you'll find us right there.
Awesome. I'll put all the links in the show note. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you for reaching the end of the podcast. For that, we'll give you a complimentary coaching session in the link below with Edwards Consulting. Hope to see you there and have a great day and keep clocking in.